tell me about the name change. What spurred that? Why did you go from Modern Hell to Cove?
Well,
I was voted out 3-1 on that.
he was. Yeah. Me and our original bass player had always kind of had a strong disdain for the name. Just eventually over time we didn't feel it was a strong representation of our music, and we weren't comfortable saying it. We just hated it, basically. And then so for an entire year we would just go on and off of trying to change it, but we could never really come up with anything. And finally over the summer we had tried again and came up with Cove, and we took a vote on it, and he was ousted on it, and that's pretty much it. It's just a bit, as far as we just we hated the name, or I did at least.
The name Cove, I guess, really doesn't have any like real symbolism. It's just.
But it's kind of a blank slate. You hear Modern Hell and you think, all right, they're obviously like
This
heavy
band.
or metal or whatever. Cove, you hear and you kind of go, what's that gonna sound like?
So can't really.
I like that. A little ambiguous. It gives you guys a little bit of space to operate.
Yeah,
exactly. And that's always, we've never kind of like confined ourselves to one genre either. And up to this point, we definitely want to try different things and different sounds. So, like, it gives us the opportunity to do so.
Yeah.
So
well, let's talk a little bit more about the music then this time, and tell me, are you guys a hardcore band?
We're a heavy band. A heavy band.
We're a bunch of hardcore kids playing heavy.
Heavy, aggressive bass music, I think.
Okay.
With melodies at times.
I guess you could say, that sounds
I
like
mean, up to this point,
or
where we're going at least.
We've all come from like different musical backgrounds, but I think we all ended up pretty much in the same pot. So,
yeah. As far as Cove is concerned, I think heavy and aggressive.
Okay.
Yeah, I can agree with that. So.
What about, I know you got to define the sound, but sometimes you're also forced to, it's unfortunate sometimes, to define kind of where you fit in, too.
Genre-wise?
Genre-wise, what kind of groups you're going to go with, And so I'm curious, do you feel like you're part of the hardcore scene? Do you feel like in Nashville there even is a hardcore scene?
It depends on what subgenre of hardcore you're necessarily talking about, because there's the straight edge, very youth crew-esque hardcore. Then you've got the more melodic-based hardcore. And it seems like within Nashville, at least in the shows that we play, or that, even in other bands that we play in, it's somewhat segregated. You have a lot of kids who only go to certain types of hardcore shows.
You rarely ever see the old school hardcore kids ever come out anymore.
Well, that too. And then, everybody going to, like, one genre of show? No. And we do our best at, because fortunately at Little Hamilton we can try to do mixed genre shows, but then you've got, the majority of people who don't come out here, for some odd reason. But we've always made it a point, I think, from when the day we started Modern Hell was to try to break those boundaries and be able to play any kind of show and just not necessarily fit in, but get along.
If it were up to me, we'd play diverse shows every time. Like, I wouldn't mind playing with like garage bands and like indie bands and stuff like that. Just
we played
because that's
shows.
one more set of ears that hasn't heard us yet. So.
Well, obviously you guys have the intent and the wherewithal to try to make that happen, but what does Nashville need to help, kind of push you guys in that direction or to support that kind of mission? What's Nashville missing?
People who aren't necessarily afraid to come to places like Little Hamilton.
Yeah.
People who...
definitely more places like Little Hamilton.
Yeah.
DIY spots where anything goes musically.
I think to answer your question, it was pretty straightforward. It would take, starting to get younger kids to come out to more diverse shows, start having more diverse shows, and hope, I say that, but I know people here in Nashville that do their best to do that, and have tried, but you got kids who are, I keep thinking of the word spoiled, but I don't think that's necessarily the right word to describe it. But you've got kids who are only care about the trendy hardcore bands, and I say trendy, but I guess I mean more notable at this point in time. Your Touche Amore, Bane, and even though Bane's been around forever, but and I think kids maybe they don't necessarily care about the music at all.
I guess like go off of his point though. It's something I guess just learned from observing though. Is, I mean, you've got a lot of the crowd though that's like, you've got music lovers, and then you have people who actually just want to go to shows. But I mean, it's trying to differentiate from those, like, I guess, cast of people. Yeah. That's what makes it, like, you can tell because you go to a show and there'll be that one kid who's like completely passionate about being there to see every band, and then that one kid who just shows up just to see the one band. Mm-hmm. But I mean, it's you. Every music scene's got them, and they're all different. So I mean,
and you've only got kids who go to Rocketown. You've got kids who only go to Little Hamilton. Then you've got your older crowd that only goes to the end or the exit end or the Springwater. And then, and it's not even just those people, but those genres of music tend to stay at those venues too. You've got Nashville's Dead, with that whole, garage punk scene. And from what I understand, it's a fairly, Jeff the Brotherhood has been fairly active with that, and that's a huge deal, and it's so segregated, and it's unfortunate, and as far as unifying it, I don't really know what. You'd have to really think about it and devise a plan to be dedicated to really be able to. I think things like this, what you're doing as far as being here in Nashville and interviewing other different types of bands and promoting your website.
Yeah, I think that's great.
This has been, something like this has been missing from Nashville for so long. At least, Zambui did it for a while, but as far as you got huge bands coming through and of different genres, and you don't seemingly have anybody who's going out there and getting to know these bands and then trying to promote them via the internet in Nashville. Yeah. So I think this is a really great way, because kids are so connected to the internet.
So, sort of an ambassador for the United Nations of music, I guess.
I'll take that. I guess I need new business cards. That's awesome. What about making music with Cove keeps you going?
I think a true desire just to do it. I mean, when you when you play songs and you play your instrument and you just sort of electrifies you, I think that is a sure sign that it's worth doing, and you'll do anything to make that happen.
I really feel like. And this is just from a personal experience. I've always been intrigued about music, and I've always liked it. But it wasn't until I actually got to play, I guess, in front of people and actually be in a band that I really feel like, wow, this is something I want to do. It's I guess when you try that one thing for the first time and it just sort of hits you and you're like, holy crap,
yeah.
This is it. So,
yeah, definitely. I feel more alive playing shows than anything else.
Let's stay on Nashville, but in a little different direction. No matter what subgenre you're in, you're still in Music City, which is ridiculously saturated with music. So I'm kind of curious. I've heard from different bands the influence of just having so many good musicians being in town being something that was really impactful, but also the fact that there's just so much it's hard to even seen and be seen. So kind of tell me, what's been the impact of Nashville on you guys individually as you develop musically?
I mean, personally, from my standpoint, it's been awesome. I've made some of the best musician friends I could ever ask for. I've been able to be a part of and see local bands, such as A Plea for Purging, Alert the Sky, Hysteria. They're not necessarily Nashville, but I Need Closure. Hollywood. I mean, just a list full of bands that have, not necessarily come and gone, but we're still here that I feel lucky enough to have seen and been a part of. That's kind of stayed here, I guess, with the exception of a Plea, because they're pretty big now. But the country music scene is obviously huge here, and I mean personally that's cool just to come from a place that has such a rich history in country music, and I mean it is the history book of it, and so to come from a place like that, it's really personally pretty inspiring, even though I guess some would say that today it's pretty
it's not what it used to be.
Obviously not what it used to be. It's but Yeah, that's, I don't know.
For me, like I came here to go to like school for music related things, and coming up to Nashville, you kind of realize like, okay, I'm not that good at guitarist. Okay, like, so I play guitar. There's a million other people that play guitar. Everyone's got a demo. Everyone's trying to push their own music. It really kind of, like, you walk into Guitar Center, there you hear 10 people that are all amazing at guitar, and they're just sitting there playing on whatever amp in Guitar Center. And for me, it kind of makes me want to try harder to like stand out. Not necessarily be better, because there's always going to be someone that's going to be better, but just want to do things a little differently, put that little twist on like my style of music or whatever. So I like that.
Yeah. Guess for me personally, coming from like a background of like having like a really like musical family, but like there's one or two people in my family who are like pretty musical. My dad played drums in a jazz band, and then breaking out of the little town I was in and then coming to Nashville, it definitely like it was sort of like information overload. Like, you know, like, wow, I didn't know that like there was like all this great stuff, and that sort of like really set the platform as far as like me getting into music and just seeing. I remember walking down Broadway. I never even like knew what Broadway was, and walking down it, and every bar had a band, and it was just sort of like, whoa.
That was nuts to me when I first moved here. It was just, there's a band on every street corner.
Yeah. Starting at 10 a.m.
Yeah, like even some of the homeless guys like that. I know there's a group.
Oh, some of them are awesome.
Yeah, some of the homeless guys are talented. I know that there's a group of guys who do bucket stuff, and it's pretty amazing. So, yeah.
Well, you guys mentioned country music, and obviously that is a big part of Nashville. I'm curious if that has influenced you to any degree. I mean, country music, obviously you don't hear it too much in what you guys put out, but has it had an impact on you guys?
Personally, as far as the traditional music scene, and I think, like Hank 3 and things of that nature, he, he's a fairly independent, go-getter type of dude, and like personally,
definitely doing his own thing as far as country goes.
Yeah, and there's the, I don't want to, when I say country music, obviously not modern, 2011 country-based music, but, the older stuff, is very personal. It's very influential as far as the subject matter is concerned, and, for me personally, and it makes me want to write more songs that are, personal, and, they're saying not necessarily cheesy lines, but things that are, telling love stories and things like that, and in a, the harmonies that go along with it just make you just, it makes you want to die. Like as someone modern, Nick 13 of Tiger Army, he just came out with a really, really great country album. Kenny Vaughn, he's a guitar player for Marty Stewart, and he just came out with a new country album, and it's on Sugar Hill Records, and
it's different.
It's different, but it's very just honest. And that's another thing. Honesty in, I think, music is another huge thing missing that maybe kids need to understand with the bands that they watch.
That's derived a lot from like the older styles of music. I mean, just like honestly, you could go like to any show and mention the name Merle Haggard, and like maybe like two people will know exactly what you're talking about. But it's what he says.
For me, as far as like country music is concerned, the only country music that I've ever really been super into is Johnny Cash, and I mean everyone loves Johnny Cash, so it's not anything like different. But for me, he's always been kind of the outcast of country. Like he'll sing a song about like the darker side of life, and like I've always been drawn to like darker music, and I don't want to hear another love song. I don't want to hear blah blah blah. He has such great songs about, they're, like you said, like just really honest. Like Man in Black, that song is just, the world kind of sucks, and I would love for it to be a great place, but until then, I'm the Man in Black.